season defined by battles hard won, rivalries that grew fiercer with each race, and moments that forged competitors into legends. The XTERRA World Cup is off-road triathlon at its highest and toughest level, with room for only one at the top. But woven into every conquered kilometre of trail are the storylines that captivated fans across the globe. The battles, the setbacks, and the price too often paid in the pursuit of greatness. These are the moments that defined the 2024 XTERRA World Cup. Races and rivalries. With the 2023 series ending in a nail-biting final stretch, 2024 was set for redemption and rivalries to explode. Arthur Serrières began with a golden jersey and a target firmly on his back. The famously fast Frenchman, now XTERRA's first ever double champion, entered 2024 as the #1 male athlete to beat. For Félix Farissier, redemption was the driving force. After missing double champ status by the smallest of margins, he came back with power and purpose, pushing Serrières to his limit and fueling some of the season's biggest moments. Older brother Arthur Farissier had his own redemption arc after his 2023 ambitions ended abruptly with a broken collarbone in Czech, his sights set firmly on gold for 2024. With two determined Farissiers and Arthur Serrières chasing a third consecutive world title, it seemed a tall order to beat the French. But if anyone was up for the challenge, it was Danish powerhouse Jens Emil Sloth-Nielsen. XTERRA's most prolific rider and arguably the most exciting racer in the sport, the Danes set out with a clear mission in 2024, to end the French reign. In the women's field, it was the Élysée-Patiès-Solène Bilwan battle that was expected to set the trails ablaze. In 2023, the relationship between the French duo soured, with an emotionally charged season-long battle ending in Patiès winning the World Cup and Bilwan as the world champion. There was no reconciliation in sight as the duo prepared to go head-to-head once again in 2024.
I think that all people know that I don't like Solène. But I respect Solène because she's a good athlete.
Alongside the fierce French duo were familiar threats and emerging names. The prolific Sandra Mayr-Hofer would be a consistent worry for the French pair, as would the rising Marta Mendito and the swimming phenomenon Annette Grabmüller. With a 7-stop World Cup tour ready to challenge XTERRA's elite, all eyes were on stop #1 in Taiwan, where rivalries, redemption and raw talent would finally collide. Stop 1. Dominance defined. With world champion Arthur Serrières and Italy's Sandra Mayr-Hofer absent from the lineup, the opening race in Taiwan was defined by a single question: who would set the standard for the 2024 World Cup Series? And two athletes answered with authority. Effortlessly carving through one of the roughest, rowdiest and most relentless trails of the series, Félix Farissier and Solène Bilwan delivered a clear message. The bar was higher and the French were all in. Farissier's powerful performance led the men's field, while Bilwan delivered a crushing first blow to her rival Élysée-Patiès, proving the reigning world champ was stronger and faster than ever. Jens Emil Sloth-Nielsen may have lost the opening battle against the French, but certainly not the war, revealing a new weapon for the first time.
There we go!
Known for his prowess on the bike, the Dane took second place with not only the fastest bike split, but also the fastest run. After the race, he called Farissier a dangerous man, but now the French had a new threat of their own, with Sloth-Nielsen standing between the Farissier brothers on the season's first podium. Battle lines clearly drawn, Farissier and Bilwan had set the new standard, one the rest would now have to chase. On the leaderboard, it was Félix Farissier who would now don the golden jersey for the men, with Sloth-Nielsen and Arthur Farissier in pursuit. While for the women, The rivalry was alive and well, with Bill 1 and Patiez leading the charge. Stop 2. The cost of error. The second stop of the World Cup brought XTERRA's finest to the sun-soaked coastal town of Vouliagmeni, Greece, where the pressures of Pro Series racing began to show, where mistakes could cost vital points and champions found themselves off the podium for the first time. The presence of world champion Arthur Serrières and Italy's Sandra Mayerhofer had plenty of pre-race tongues wagging, but even they were no match for 2 in the golden jersey.
3, 2, 1.
Taking full advantage of the fast and flowing trails, Félix Frissier looked on course for another perfect race, but dominance quickly turned to disaster as a wrong turn coming into the finish cost him the lead.
I actually think he's lost. He's supposed to be on the beach at this point.
Oh! It was a crucial mistake that handed his brother Arthur Frissier an unexpected first win of the season. The younger Frissier managed to course correct just in time to finish ahead of Serrières, who took third, resulting in an all-French podium, but also revealing how razor-thin the margin for error truly is. Not resting on her laurels, Bill 1 delivered another unstoppable, dominant win to keep her hold on the series. Finishing third, Mayerhofer fell short of her expected impact, while defending World Cup champion Elise Patiez missed the podium altogether. But standing on the second step was a new force in the women's field, Annette Grabmüller from the Czech Republic, confidently declaring that her best was still to come. Despite his error, Félix Frissier held his place at the top, while Arthur Frissier's win saw him rise above Sloth Nielsen. Bill 1 was still an immovable force at the top, with Grabmüller now found herself tied in second place with Patiez. Stop 3. The American Test. As the series moved to Oak Mountain, USA for the third stop of the tour, the leaders faced uncharted and challenging territory. For Félix Frissier, it marked his first World Cup race on American soil, facing fierce local talent such as North American champion Sullivan Middaugh and crowd favourite Eric Lagerstrom. Meanwhile, for Solène Bill 1, it was a return to a course seemingly bent on disrupting her reign at the top. Trailing just behind Mayerhofer in a relentless game of cat and mouse, Bill 1 flatted in almost the exact same place she had in 2023, with nearly 20 kilometres left to ride.
I got a flat again! I have 200!
But with a stunning display of strength, determination, sheer resilience, this time she pressed on, riding her tyre insert to hold the gap and secure a hard-fought second place. Yet despite Bill 1's efforts, Sandra Mayerhofer had put down a flawless performance and now held her first win over Bill 1. Félix Frissier once again went unchallenged in the men's full-distance race, but in the series' first short-track race the following day, the tides began to turn. Arthur Serrières, just as he had in this race the previous season, delivered a blistering performance in the opening fast format race, giving the reigning world champion his first taste of blood and reminding everybody of the pace he holds. For Sloth Nielsen, seeing his ranking slip as Serrières rose was a troubling shift, with the race ending in another all-French male podium. The weekend saw a battle for second place, with Sloth Nielsen briefly finding success before returning to third following the short track race. For the women, Patiez was now alone in second place, but with the gap to the front beginning to slip away. Stop 4, Tide's Turn in Belgium. When the series arrived in Belgium for the halfway mark, it followed a week of heavy rain that had rendered the Meuse River unsafe for competition, leading to the unexpected announcement of the World Cup's first ever duathlon. Having taken the fastest bike and run splits in multiple races, Jens-Emil Sloth-Nielsen immediately smelled blood, and the French now had a serious fight on their hands, this time in favour of the Danish rider. From the start, Sloth-Nielsen controlled the pace with speed and unmistakable confidence, racing as if he already knew the outcome. After being on nearly every podium since the series began, this was Sloth-Nielsen's breakthrough and just the motivation he needed. In the women's race, Sandra Mayhofer continued her climb up the rankings as she took full advantage of the format change. A powerhouse on the bike with 35 kilometres to dominate, the Italian closed out the race with an impressive 3 minutes to spare. Struggling with health issues, this was the second consecutive full-distance defeat for Belgium, casting doubt on the world champion's seemingly unstoppable streak. For Patiez, it was another podium miss in a season that was now seeming to lack the competitive edge of 2023. The defending World Cup champion still in second place, but with Marta Mendito and Sandra Mayhofer now chasing at her heels. 3 stops remained, with the comeback stories far from over. A strong win for Sloth-Nielsen saw him move into second, but still with significant ground to cover to catch Farissier. Marta Mendito saw her efforts rewarded with a return to the top 3, but now with Mayhofer close behind. Stop 5, against the odds. It was the World Cup's 5th stop in Quebec, where one story rose above the rest. The area is notorious for some of the best mountain biking on the planet, and with the 75 kilometres of trail network at the organisers' disposal, Quebec did not disappoint. A double feature stop with the short track race first, Arthur Serrières took on the brave challenge of following Jens-Emil Sloth-Nielsen through a section of the bike tailor-made for the seasoned rider. A mistimed jump at high speed sent the Frenchman over the bars and directly to the medical tent. His Quebec ambitions seemingly shattered, but Serrières is a man who never stays down. Known for pushing his limits when it matters most, he returned to the start line of the full-distance race with a single goal: to finish what he'd started. Not content to simply salvage a few points, Serrières quickly worked himself at the leading end of the 10-man train for the sport's fastest riders, exiting transition nearly shoulder to shoulder with his 2 biggest rivals. It was the perfect chance for Sloth-Nielsen to deploy his new weapon, but it was Serrières, fresh from high altitude training, who unleashed in devastating fashion, putting nearly 2 minutes on his rivals to stamp his name on one of the most remarkable wins of the series. With Serrières back in full form, a renewed sense of danger loomed over the field. Though it was a tough blow for Sloth-Nielsen, the Dane would find some consolation in having edged out both Farissiers for a second time running. Whilst Serrières celebrated, it was yet more misery for Elise Patiez, as her season went from bad to worse with a broken chain and a subsequent DNF. Forced to watch her ranking slip to 3rd, Patiez faced the bitter reality of a title defence slipping from reach, whilst teammate Marta Mendito rose to 2nd place. For Céline Belgium, it was a triumphant return to the top step, as both world champions claimed victory together for the first time since the 2023 World Championship. It was the perfect time to peak, and all that remained were the 2 biggest races of the series, with a new and unexpected threat ready to enter the fray. Despite the drama, there was little change in the men's rankings, with Sloth-Nielsen still dividing the 2 Farissiers. In the women's field, Marta Mendito saw her highest ranking yet, but with Bill 1 now well over 100 points ahead. Stop 6. Shockwaves through Europe. The series faced its biggest shake-up yet at the penultimate stop, in the Czech Republic. The European Championship is the single most competitive race outside of the World Champs, and the lineup of star power showed. But fresh competition was about to send shockwaves through the women's field, whilst the men's race took a heartbreaking turn with an unexpected exit. In a cruel déjà vu of 2023, Arthur Frissier's World Cup ambitions ended again in the Czech Republic. Sitting in third and full of promise, the crash during the course testing brought his season to a tragic close, marking yet another early exit for the Frenchman. Enter Luan Duverson, a former top contender who had spent 2024 focusing on road triathlon. The reigning European champ returned to the dirt in Katowice to defend her title. Absent from all 5 stops so far, Duverson had found herself off the top contenders list for the first time, but the Swiss athlete was about to set the record straight. Speed, precision and perfectly timed pacing, Duverson waited for her strongest discipline to drop the hammer and extend her regional reign. Local hero and rising star Renate Grabmüller could only watch as her impressive lead slipped away, with Duverson charging to a second consecutive European title. For Grabmüller, the race was more validation that she could hang with XTERRA's best. But for Bill 1, Patiez and Meerhofer, Duverson's win added an unexpected new challenge just ahead of the season's biggest race. But the highlight reel from the penultimate stop wasn't over yet, as the Farissier-Serrières showdown reached a boiling point. After Serrières claimed first and Farissier second in the full distance, the two were back at it in the short track. In what became one of the season's most thrilling races, the lead changed hands multiple times between Sloth-Nielsen, Serrières and Farissier. But with Serrières poised to close the show, it was Farissier who landed the final blow in a sprint finish for the ages. With less than a second between them, it was the closest finish ever in World Cup history. Having only a single race to her name, Duverson's upset did little to change the rankings in the women's field, with Bill 1, Mendito and Patiez still in the lead. For the men, it was still Farissier and Sloth-Nielsen at the top, but now with Serrières notably in third. Stop 7. Photo finish. With the tension of World Championship racing already at max, nature dialed it up even further in Trentino, Italy, delivering some of the iciest conditions the pinnacle event has ever seen. It was an apt backdrop for the season's most dramatic showdown, and the tone was about to be set with yet another iconic finish. Looking to clinch the World Cup title in the final short track race of the series, Felix Farissier took early command, charging hard through all 4 bike laps. But American Sullivan Middaugh and Arthur Serrières were up for the challenge, the world champ igniting an explosive sprint that had every fan on their feet. Full gas, full throttle, it was a signature Farissier-Serrières showdown, but with Middaugh leading the charge.
And this is going to be so close. Middaugh's going to take it. Oh, 3 up sprint to the line too. Middaugh, Farissier. Middaugh takes it. Oh, that is wonderful from the young American. What a breakthrough performance.
This was short track racing at its absolute best. For the men, the World Cup would be decided in the final race of the season. But for the women, Bill 1 had done enough. 4th consecutive short track win put her tally out of reach, and the World Cup had a new champion. But celebrations were short-lived, with the 2024 XTERRA World Championship now less than 48 hours away. World Champs, the three-peat. For Bill 1, this was a race for legacy. With 2 world titles already, a third would place her among the legends. Only 5 women have claimed 3, and even fewer have done it back to back. For Serrières, the stakes were the same. A three-peat would make history, capping his already iconic career as the first male to make it 3 in a row. But for both reigning champions, the field was now tougher than ever.
Our defending world champions there, Arthur Serrières of France and Solène Billouin of France, both going for a three-peat today. Can they do it?
It was here, in 2023, that Félix Frissier's double champ hopes evaporated in the final stretch, and he would be in no mood to see this happen again. With one hand already on the World Cup trophy, a win would cap off a dominant season for the Frenchman, with now only Serrières able to keep pace. Jens Emil did not mince any words, making his intentions clear that anything less than a win would not be good enough. A final fight against the French on the biggest stage in the sport. Having missed the podium in 2023, Sandra Mayr-Hofer would be back in front of the home crowd, eager to deliver a win in her own backyard. And for the outgoing World Cup champion, there would be no better way to rectify a season that seemed to be against her at every turn than to end with the most coveted title of all. But slippery and tough conditions soon allowed the technically sound Solène Billouin back into the fold to take the lead for the first time. Forissier was first out of transition, but looking like the limit may have already been found, and with a 2-time world champion close on his heels, Serrières made his move just before the first section of single track.
And what a great race it's been so far. So our 2 leaders, Félix Frisier and Arthur Serrières. Arthur just pushing in front now to take the lead from Félix, and here they are into the first steep section.
Serrières seems so good at instantly closing gaps.
He is, yeah, just that turnover of leg speed. So far the 2 favourites, Solène and Arthur, leading their respective races.
Taking the lead, Serrières had completely broken Forissier, running the final 5k completely unchallenged and with his sights now set firmly on the win.
Arthur Serrières, what a legend of our sport, is running towards the finish, and he's running himself into the history books, becoming the first man to ever win 3 titles in a row. He is our 2024 XTERRA Men's Elite Champion. That is like putting the thumb down. It's a marker. I said I'd come to do it, and I have. And Solène Billouin, what a brilliant performance. She turns into the finishing straight, takes the applause of the crowd, and well she might. She is a 3-time world champion. Solène Billouin already in tears because the emotion is starting to hit her. She's not only done it, she's done it 3 times. She is your XTERRA world champion.
She's really achieved something quite incredible today.
3 for 3, Serrières and Billouin remain the only champions in the Italian era of the XTERRA World Champs, simply unbeatable when it matters the most. It was the focus all along for Serrières, who finished the World Cup in 3rd, but has now written his name amongst the greats, as does Solène Billouin, becoming the first female double champ to hold the World Cup and World Championship titles simultaneously. Félix Frisier, despite another narrow miss at double champ status, takes home the Men's World Cup crown, a title well earned in a series that rewards consistency and resilience. Wearing the golden jersey from start to finish, Félix Frisier never once relinquished his lead at the top. It was a hard-fought second place for Sloth Nielsen, who delivered equally consistent results through 7 stops, coming only marginally short of completely quelling the French wave. Standing with more points than any other, Billouin ends with the single most impressive World Cup record of the season, having never been in danger of losing the golden jersey. Patiers, finishing in 2nd, will have plenty to think about as she undoubtedly prepares to bounce back with a vengeance in 2025. But if an unforgettable season has taught us anything, it's that no title comes easily and every race can change the game. And with a rising field of new challengers, the stage is already set for the 2025 battles to begin. Subscribe to the channel for the best in off-road triathlon as the XTERRA World Cup returns in 2025 with new destinations, new rivalries and unforgettable moments between the tape.